We have the first talk, Dr. Shruti speaking to us. She needs no introduction, but nevertheless, it's my privilege to introduce Dr. Shruti to the august audience out here. She's consultant nephrologist. Before that, she's a good friend of ours, good friend of mine. Happy to have you, Shruti, over here. And she's a transplant physician and, of course, director of ATDI Lab, which all of you know, Advanced Renal Replacement Therapy Private Limited. She works in Gleneagles, Mumbai Nanavati Max Super Specialty Hospital, and she has a major achievement to her credit, all of you know that, sorter swap registry for sensitized patients. She, of course, has got a lot of fellowships, Young Investigator Awards, and so many publications. She is going to speak to us on an essential and a very crucial topic of today's conference, that is CKD and nutrition. Nutrition is very important for us because the quality of life, the longevity, the survival, and all depend upon the nutrition. So let's hear from her how we are going to manage the nutrition in the background of CKD. Over to you, Shruti.
Thank you, Manjusha, for the kind words, and thank you to the organizers and the SRNM Con administration to have me here. It's indeed a pleasure. I would like to congratulate Dr. Swarnalata and team for the excellent management. Let me start for the day, being the opening batsman. So let's start with a case. 53-year-old male, diabetes since 15 years, obese, BMI is 30, coronary artery disease in 2017, status post-PTCA to LAD and RCX, diagnosed to have CKD in 2017 at the time of MI. His creatinine was 2 mg per dl and urine albumin creat ratio was 15-20 milligrams per gram. Diabetic retinopathy, which is well lasered in 2018. He was advised a diabetic, salt restricted and a low protein diet to slow the progression of CKD. His creatinine, however, kept rising and he presented in 2023 April with a urea of 70 and a creatinine of 8 mg per dl. His serum albumin was 3 mg per dl and the cholesterol was 100. His HbA1c was 6. He had a poor appetite and had lost weight in last 6 months, and the patient required to be initiated on dialysis. Now this is the usual story which we have for all our patients. So what does a normal functioning kidney do? The normal functioning kidney is assigned with the work of clearing toxins, in a common language, urea nitrogenous waste. It maintains the body composition for electrolytes, acid-base fluids. It produces renin, it controls BP. It helps in formation of blood, I can say, for the dietitians who are here, producing hormones like erythropoietin. It also activates the vitamin D and it prevents mineral-borne disease. So this is what is the crux of the matter here. So what happens when the number of functioning nephrons decrease with whatever diseases? When the number of functioning nephrons decrease, there is hyperfiltration, and when there is hyperfiltration, there is even more blood pressure. You can say the pressure in the intraglomerular pressure rises. When the intraglomerular pressure rises, you can see that there is a slow decline but a death of that nephron. So dietary protein restriction minimizes these changes, is why we always suggest dietary protein restriction. Initial studies like Brenner's hypothesis prompted several studies for low protein diet. Brenner hypothesized that there is a hyperfiltration. When you have hyperfiltration, you have increased filtration pressure, there is more sclerosis and there is loss of glomeruli. These studies used LPD and monitored the renal function from the rate of rise of creatinine. Most of the studies observed a slower rate of rise in creatinine, and this was interpreted as a slower rate of decline of function. But what was understood later was creatinine is a function of muscle mass, and it's not only the meter which is required to monitor the progression of kidney disease. MDRD study NEJM 1994, it tried to look at the comparison of a usual protein diet and a low protein diet, and at 36 months it was seen that there was a difference, but there was no significant difference. But what was not seen was that later on when you extended the study, the LPD did much better. That means that the low protein diet, laser is not working. So the lower protein diet patients did much better in slowing the progression of chronic kidney disease or the loss of the functioning mass of the nephrons in comparison to the usual protein diet who succumbed to the kidney failure sooner. So protein restriction challenges are there in daily practice. We do advise to patients, but they hardly are able to follow it unless you are monitoring them very closely. They are very difficult to follow and it increases the risk of malnutrition like we saw in our patient. A protein restricted diet is a low protein, low fat, high carbohydrate diet with well controlled potassium and sodium intake. This is very important that the calories are maintained. Protein is given only in the form of essential amino acids so that the body will use the excess blood urea nitrogen to synthesize a non-essential amino acid for the production of the tissue protein. The therapeutic effects of this diet were very encouraging. This was known as the Giordano-Giovannitti diet. It was observed that many patients with restricted diet had difficulty in following them. Some patients were receiving extra dietary proteins, and thus once the renal replacement therapy started, the enthusiasm of treating the CKD with dietary restriction waned. So there was a bit of a confusion as to what are we doing to our patients, are we harming them? So what are the difficulties? Practically, we all have seen the difficulties that it is very difficult to achieve a balance of a very good low protein diet with the energy reserves to be conserved and controlling the potassium phosphorus. We also need to educate the patients and their families because we can give them whatever instructions, but if they have not understood their disease, they have not understood why they are following this diet, and you make them a part of your team and discuss with them, this does not happen. Many patients end up with malnutrition, and malnutrition inflammation is a great marker of morbidity and mortality in these patients. So malnutrition is an important complication of CKD, and you will hear this in many of the talks today during the day because this is an important Achilles heel in the management of CKD. The presence of PEM is one predictor of morbidity, mortality, an individual predictor and a multitask projector. Why malnutrition? We are restricting the patients in eating, patients' appetite declines as the state of CKD increases, there is intercurrent illnesses, there are altered hormonal and metabolic functions, there is a loss of appetite due to increased leptin levels, nausea, vomiting due to uremia and under dialysis, and then we are superimposing them with saying ye mat khao, wo mat khao. There is also inflammation. This is an important part. In our patients, I will show you that he had a urinary albumin creat ratio which was high. The patient had as an MI, the patient had a vascular disease in the form of a retinopathy, so he was already inflamed. There was a dietary protein restriction which caused malnutrition in this patient, and so there was a malnutrition inflammation which is a vicious cycle which sets in all our CKD patients unless we are very careful from the beginning when we are monitoring the patients. Many of us have patients who are following up with us for years and years together. We have a chance to counsel them. We have a chance to see that the nutritionist and the physician sit together and explain to them to stop the malnutrition inflammation vicious cycle. There are multiple studies showing that more the malnutrition inflammation score, the assessment will be taught to you during the day in future talks, and that will show you how to score these patients so that you can see if the score is decreasing or increasing. In this Kaplan-Meier curve, you can see that the scores of MIs being more than 8 was a bad predictor for mortality. As your CKD increases, your body mass index reduces. So being obese, in the beginning the patient lost a lot of weight and was inflamed, and as you see in CKD, by and by with our restrictions, with the disease progression, the patients lose their muscle mass, they lose their weight, and this can be a reverse epidemiology which affects us reversely in the morbidity and mortality. This is the creatinine index that as you, the risk of death in relation to the creatinine level in adequately dialyzed patients. When you see dialysis patient with a low creatinine, it's a bad marker. Many patients ask me, creatinine 10 हो गया मैडम, हम dialyze तो कर रहे हैं. I tell them you are doing well. With good dialysis, if your creatinine is good, that means your muscle mass is good, that means your nutrition is good. It is a reverse epidemiology here too. So in our case, we had diabetes, we had inflammation, we had malnutrition set in, and he was in the vicious cycle of malnutrition inflammation. So on dialysis, if we did not pick it up well, then these patients would have added morbidity and mortality. Hence, what should be our approach? Every stage requires a different care. You have to see the heat map and you have to try and see that the dietary protein restriction of 0.6 gram per kg will have to be followed after proper monitoring. Many of our patients are already on a low protein diet. Assess the protein diet, assess if the protein intake is really low or it is high, and then adjust it. So every stage will require a different kind of a care. Individualization is very important. In non-dialyzed patients, you need a calorie intake of at least 30 to 35 kilocalories per kg per day, protein of 0.6 to 0.75 if on LPD. If on VLPD, very low protein diet, 0.4 with keto analogs. This also has to be monitored. You cannot give the wrong dose of keto analog and a wrong dose of low protein diet and have the effect. You have to ensure that the essential amino acids, the proteins, calories, everything is maintained well. So the secondary analysis of the MDRD study showed that a good protein restriction and a good diet will lead to improved outcomes. So this is the TKD goal. So nutrition in CKD at every stage. First stage, you want to slow the progression of CKD. So you are managing the fluid electrolyte balances. You are preventing protein energy malnutrition. You are adjusting the diet as per the stages of CKD. Once on dialysis, switch the diet to a high protein diet. I see many patients who are still following protein restrictions when they are on dialysis. Avoid that. Have the patient meet a dietitian or a nutritionist every 3 months at the bare minimum to ensure that things are adjusted. Maintain the fluid electrolyte balance and phosphorus. Once transplanted, prevent obesity. Prevent drug-to-drug interaction, drug-to-food interactions. Treat as a CKD if there is allograft dysfunction. This also doesn't happen in many of the cases. Patients have a chronic allograft dysfunction and the patient is on a high protein diet. So every stage of kidney disease, in short, every patient needs individualization. The nephrologist and the nutritionist have to be a team. So to summarize, protein energy malnutrition and inflammation are common complications of CKD and ESKD patients on dialysis. These are associated with increased morbidity, mortality in patients suffering from CKD, and those with ESKD on maintenance dialysis. Appropriate diet is required at every stage. Protein restriction should be prescribed in early stages of slowly progressive CKD to achieve the substantial benefit. Patients should properly be selected. A good appetite, nutritional status, no major illnesses. A renal dietitian can help patients follow a protein restricted diet and adjust the diets as the stages progress. Educating patients can go a very long way in achieving patient compliance. A simple systematic approach to assess the nutritional status and monitoring the nutrition on serial clinical follow-up is very important. A multidisciplinary team approach is required to assess, implement and monitor the diet. Important to recognize the nutritional status assessment at the very beginning and monitor them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for the insightful talk on the malnutrition inflammation axis and measures to decrease the effect of burden of malnutrition and inflammation on CKD patients. I request the respected chairpersons.
Thank you for that wonderful talk, ma'am. I would ask you regarding an Indian population where meat consumption is very less in our population compared to the Western, where they eat a lot of meat and protein restriction is more in Western studies. But what do you advise in Indian scenarios?
So we also face this situation. Mumbai is a cosmopolitan place where we do not find a lot of core non-vegetarian people. So I work very closely with Ms. Amrut Patel, who is our chief dietitian and a renal nutritionist. So we have observed that our patients, when they say they are non-vegetarian, they eat only once a week or once in 2 weeks. It's not like every day they are eating meat. So we do not restrict it, but we advise them to avoid chunks of meat, red fish, you can have river fish, or you can have lean meat, and these can be portioned and given to them, so that they do not feel that they have been restricted in eating a particular type of food which they are used to, like in the east and the northeast there is a lot of fish and rice. In the south or in the southwest you can have a lot of chicken and all those things. So you have to take the cultural issues in mind before you say do not eat this and do not eat this. You cannot give a North Indian dosas and idlis for breakfast, they will not like it. So we have to adjust, but we have to first, so we do a 24-hour urine protein, urine urea, 24-hour urine creat and 24-hour urine sodium. This gives me an assessment of how much protein the patient is eating. We ask them to come with a 7-day diet diary. This tells us and gives us an additional information as to where we can edit things. We tell the patients we are not sending you to a dietitian to stop eating things. We want you to add things which are required and edit things which might be harming you. And overall, if you see, there are studies saying that a plant-based diet may be better, but we cannot change anyone's cultural issues overnight.
Continuing the same, Shruti, like there is a lot of emphasis right now in the global platforms regarding Mediterranean diet, PLADO, plant-dominant diet, and all these things, and they have looked into the transformation of the gut microbiome with relevance to the slowing of the progression of the chronic kidney disease. However, in our situation where the nutrition is very crucial, most of the patients being from a poor socioeconomic backgrounds, is it viable to restrict the protein, whatever they are taking, and in the lines of, slowing the progression of the disease? And I'm sure you're going to share your perspective between a non-dialysis CKD and a dialysis CKD. Obviously, we need to look at both the categories in a different perspective. Your inputs on this, please.
So when we see, practically when I see a patient of CKD with a GFR which is declining, first find out the cause of CKD, treat the cause. Secondly, I tell them diet is very important. We first assess the diet. If the patient is already taking a low protein diet, we do not edit it. And then at 3 months, the patient again goes back to the dietitian with the same 24-hour sodium, 24-hour urea and creatine, because the sodium tells you how much sodium is being consumed by the patient, and the urea is going to tell me how much protein. If the patient is already on a low protein diet, we will not edit the diet. And we assure them that your nutrition will be managed, calories will be managed. See, many patients are only hypertensive, they are not diabetic. I don't need to restrict the carbohydrates there. I don't need to tell them stop eating this and stop eating that. There are many places where we give them something like groundnuts and jaggery, which is a good protein, a good calorie, because on dialysis we like to have patients eat something. And this is a power-packed protein bar which can be given, especially in dialysis patients. So like I said, every patient needs individualization. Restriction only comes when they are going excess.
Thanks, Shruti. Before I close, over to co-chairs.
I have a question. So normally what's your take on alpha keto analogs with the low protein diet? We commonly write it TAD. So, but majority of the studies says that they're effective only when the 6 tablets are taken minimum. So nothing less than 4 is effective. So are we really doing any justice writing TAD?
So I get a lot of representatives coming to me, Madam, aap वापरते नहीं हो. But one, I would say 2% of my patients will be on keto analogs. And who are those 2%? These are the patients who have reached a stage where they are now on 0.4 gram per kg per day. We take 6 months, me and Zamrud work together. First we put them on 0.6 gram per kg. Then we slowly bring them down to 0.4 gram per kg. We ensure that they are really taking 0.4 gram per kg by doing a 24-hour test. If we see that that happens, then we educate the patient that now we are putting you on keto analogs, which will help you slow the progression. This will be 1 tablet per 5 kgs body weight. I do not cut corners, because if you put someone on some therapeutic regime, it has to be perfect. You cannot go at 2 tablets per day, 3 tablets per day, which you see in prescriptions. That should not happen.
Shruti, have you done some studies where you have seen the Indian vegetarian diet, what is the content of, in average, I don't say that some people may be taking a very high protein diet, but average Indian, what is the protein content of the diet?
Average Indian, we had done a study way back in Hinduja in 2001 or 2002, and I think we had published it also in JAPI. It said that we were at 0.4 to 0.6 gram per kg per day, average Indian person who is a vegetarian 80% of the time and non-vegetarian once or twice a week. So we are already on an LPD, so I like to ensure that they are taking excess protein, then only restrict it. We do not do protein
what I
restriction
say
to
for
all.
all practical purpose, and just a word of caution for other people, that taking help of renal nutritionist or dietitian in the clinic or in your chamber, I think first you need to really educate your dietitian regarding this what is protein, and most of time, I say in my practice, as far as vegetarian people is concerned, I only just say continue whatsoever you're taking, minus that if they are hypertensive, take less salt, and as far if they are having tendency for potassium, hyperkalemia, then fruit restriction. Otherwise, we really don't. Sometimes consultation by dietitian makes them really malnourished.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful discussion. Since the time is up, we thank everyone, and thank you, Shruti, for a wonderful talk. Thank you, my co-chairs. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, the organizers. Thank you so much.